Phoenix Force. A sentient cosmic entity of limitless power, the Phoenix Force made contact with the dying Jean Grey. The Phoenix Force created a human host body for itself that was a duplicate of Grey's and infused it with a portion of her consciousness. The Phoenix Force placed Grey's original body into suspended animation within a large cocoon, in which it would slowly heal. When the shuttle crash landed in Jamaica Bay, the Phoenix Force's new host body rose from the water, declaring herself to be Phoenix. The X-Men believed that Phoenix was the real Jean Grey, and Phoenix/Grey joined the team.
That's how you get ants!
Gather round, youngins, and I'll tell you a story of my youth. A time before Iron Man changed the landscape of Marvel movies in general and superhero movies as a whole. In the 90s, Marvel wasn't dead. The last hope seemed to be getting the most popular characters on the big screen as quickly as possible. These included Fantastic Four, Spider-Man, and the X-Men. Marvel ran into a sequels trend. Blade 2, Spider-Man 2, and X2 X-Men United were all better received critically and financially than the first film in their respective franchises. Blade Trinity kicked off a new trend. Third installments. We'll get to those other ones in later videos, but let's see if we can find anything nice to say about X-Men The Last Stand. In arbitrary order, here's the first nice thing I found. The casting of Hank McCoy. Marvel movies have a pretty great track record when it comes to casting. Patrick Stewart became Professor X the day he went bald. Hugh Jackman has made Wolverine practically unplayable by any other actor. Later, Marvel took a big risk on Robert Downey Jr. as Tony Stark, as Iron Man, and we all know how that turned out.
I am Iron Man.
Maybe the greatest thing The Last Stand has going for it is the casting of Kelsey Grammer as Beast. Wolverine was always the savage one, but at least he could put his claws away and walk among normal people. Beast flipped it, kind-hearted and super intellectual on the inside, animalistic on the outside. The two characters are opposites. You know, except for the time in the 90s when they cut each other's hair. By that point, Kelsey Grammer had been playing the intellectual psychiatrist Frasier for decades. If anything, there may have been a bit of typecasting going on here.
You don't shed on the furniture. Probably wouldn't hurt to get it trimmed. No.
I think there's a greater point to the Beast character than just wouldn't it be cool if Frasier was Beast? Well, using the POV of Beast to show how the government is responding to the mutant terror threat, Beast also shows us that there is life away from the school for gifted youngsters. Up to this point, none of the student mutants had any hope of a life outside of the school. Every other former student just became a professor at the school they just graduated from. Or they join up with Magneto and become a terrorist. Not a lot of career mobility. Not only has Hank McCoy, the most mutanty of mutants, moved on from Xavier's school, he's gotten into politics and, judging by this tailored suit, is pretty successful. If Beast can do it, so can you! Our second nice thing to say, Magneto moving the Golden Gate Bridge with his metal powers may be contrived, over the top, and completely unnecessary, but this is a superhero movie. This is what I came for. On that note, number 3, Magneto flipping cars and smashing trucks with a wave of his hand in order to rescue Mystique. If you didn't like that, maybe you walked into the wrong theater. Number 4, the opening Danger Room sequence where the team is fighting the Sentinel is fantastic. Even though we've only seen the head of the thing, we know it was pretty impressive. As someone who grew up on X-Men the Animated Series, I wanted to see some raging Sentinel fights. You don't feel as bad when you're watching your heroes methodically disassemble a faceless robot. It doesn't have a family to go home to. Do you know what Wolverine's claws would do to a normal person's face? What's this rated? PG-13? Yeah, better make it robots. Well, I think they could have done more with it at the end. This opening battle sequence sets up the end battle rather well. Also, it's the first appearance of what the comics call a fastball special, where Colossus hurls Wolverine through the air with his claws out. It's a fangirl moment. Number 5. When Angel fully extends his wings for the first time, that was pretty magnificent. Number 6. Pyro vs. Iceman finally comes to the most satisfying of conclusions. Pyro is a sycophantic megalomaniac and has been asking for this fight since X2. His final face-off against Bobby leaves us with Iceman in his full ice form, headbutting the douchebag and kicking him down with a one-liner. Number 7. There's a pretty subtle moment, no more than a split-second look, between Hank and Wolverine when they both realize they have to do something they are morally against. I've heard some criticism saying that Hank using the weaponized cure against Magneto doesn't track with his character arc, and maybe a passing glance between two characters isn't enough to convey his change of heart. Whether or not you agree, I appreciate the fact that there is an exchange that attempts to convey this. In the midst of a battle, in the midst of a slaughter, Hank must adjust his opinion in order to obey his higher principles. To a lesser extent, Wolverine completes his character arc in the moment of sacrificing himself in order to work with the team. Again, it's a lot to put into a look. Finally, here's the last nice thing I have to say. There's a lot going on in this movie, and it's easy to argue that the plot overextends itself, but the emotional heart of this story is the battle over Jean Grey. And while even this can be overcomplicated and confused, both Xavier and Magneto have separate moments where they try to control her. Xavier has been controlling her since she came into the school, binding her mind and limiting access to her powers. The movie brushes past the moral implications of this. How long has Xavier been doing this? What gives him the right to? Why does he get to decide how powerful someone is? This isn't the first time those questions have been asked about our favorite Chrome Dome telepath. Before we dive into a comment thread that probably should return to the black hole on Reddit that birthed it, I'm not going to label Xavier a villain. He made a mistake. He may be a mutant, but he's still human. His dying words are an apology. His dying words are an attempt to make amends. Magneto cannot accept his own humanity. When Mystique literally takes a bullet for him and receives the cure, he leaves her behind because she has become human. His own superiority complex cannot abide having a human soldier in his army. When Magneto recruits Jean, he tries to control her. He wants the powers she wields, he treats her like a tool, but she makes it clear that he shouldn't make the same mistake Xavier did. It takes Magneto losing his power, literally becoming a human, to accept that he was human and mutant both, that even with his power, he still made mistakes. Maybe the greatest difference between Xavier and Magneto was that Xavier could accept his failures and learn from them, while Magneto refused to believe he ever failed in the first place. Or maybe I'm just reading too much into it. Everyone thought X-Men The Last Stand was going to be the last bite of the apple for the X-Men franchise, and it feels like a fan-made bucket list being checked off. All 5 original X-Men on the screen, check. Turn Iceman into ice, check. Have some kind of Sentinel, check. A huge Magneto set piece, check. The Dark Phoenix saga, technically check. There are plenty of nice things to say about X-Men The Last Stand. Be sure to like, subscribe, tell me how wrong I am in the comments below, or maybe you like something about it I didn't mention, who knows. Join me next time for anything nice to say, and never feel ashamed to like what you like.